Hi there, welcome to Ethereum Wyckoff Technical Analysis session. Last week we covered saying Ethereum has fallen outside of the upward channel. Now it's trying to reclimb, but then it got rejected by a downward resistance line. So let's quickly take a look and see where is Ethereum and whether there are any time points in near future that breakout would happen. We'll look at both weekly and daily time frame and see what indications the charts are telling us. Here, we start with the weekly chart, and the very first thing is the thing that I just mentioned, the downward resistance line. So you see these two white candles, right? Those were the ones that the price went up back in mid-August and beginning of September. Those wicks formed a resistance line, and this was exactly what happened this week. We see the wick touching that line, and then now it got rejected back to like not very low level, but still about $100 below the high of this week. And according to the Wyckoff stages, previously we already added these tags saying, hey, it's probably a second test after the automatic reaction. So this point, the climb we're currently having, if it like comes down, that means this little peak over here is an LPSY. So for both scenario that applies. So the yellow and the blue scenario. The reason we've got two scenarios is because of the stage that we have here. If this was only the intermediate movements during the PSY period, then obviously this wouldn't be a buying climax. So all the stages got moved back by like one stage between the yellow and the blue. So as of now, it's still a bit early to tell, but at least that's what I can read from the chart. You see this PSY period back in 2024 January. That was exactly what happened over here. That there was some fluctuation before it climbs to the buying climax. So it looks kind of similar, not taking as long, just about 2 to 3 weeks, but then eventually it shoots up further before consecutive decline like what we have right over here after the buying climax. So that's why we've got the yellow scenario, while the blue one was the initial text that I put in while the chart was still pretty much live back then. And eventually when we moved to the current time frame, I readjusted it just to make sure we don't lose out a potential scenario. So this purple key level combined with this downward trend line is forming a triangle. The point that they crosses would be somewhere near end of November or early December. So let's try to extend this line to say 320 for the time being, so we can see where the lines crosses. So here, 1st of December, there's almost no room for another candlestick to sit there. That at most would be a cross. It can happen, but the likelihood of this breaking out earlier than December is pretty high. So in many charts I've shared, you've seen cases where it's probably a week or two earlier the breakout already happened. So this time, if the price continues to trade in the coming few weeks, including November, by the time we get to mid-late November, a breakout will happen eventually. So meaning either it breaks below the purple key level of $4,000, or it's going to break this pink trend line and maybe forming another uptrend towards the upthrust of the distribution. Currently, if we look at the volume, it doesn't tell us much about that happening because it's basically a declining trend just stabilizing out. So if I draw a line here, you see it has been declining from mid-August all the way to mid-September just to level out in the past 2 weeks. So that's was the situation, and if it really has to climb back out to push above this resistance line, we need to see higher volume for the white candles, and higher in terms of more like straightly going up instead of something like this, because if we have a long wick at the top, meaning there is selling pressure. So we see three candles like that already. The first one mid-August, the second early September, and now we're seeing the third one. If this pattern continues, like one wide lower high, basically 3 consecutive lower highs, and then subsequently 2 weeks of red candles, that's I would say not a good news for the bulls, especially if you are waiting for it to climb up. But then this breakout point would be your chance. We just need to see what kind of news is going to come out by the time we get into or get closer to November. For Wyckoff stages, I'll remain these percentages the possibility: 60% towards the downside and 40% towards the upside as of this moment. Obviously, if the price breaks above this pink line, this box, the bottom edge of the box, will still be a resistance line. So going up may take a longer time compared to the time when the price was in this channel before. So let's get into the daily. Just a quick check, there's no Bollinger Band corner squeeze happening, and just to enlarge it to see what's going on. So last week we talked about this breakout point, and indeed it happened. So we said by the time we get closer to where this yellow resistance line crosses the purple key level, that means September 27th, just the past Saturday, a breakout would happen, and the next day indeed the breakout happened, and that's when the price got shot up to the other side. But then if we just look at the this downward channel itself, the price is simply playing the ping pong game. So it shoots up to a high point and then back to the bottom and back close to the ceiling, get to somewhere in the middle of the box, and then bounce up and bounce back. Now it bounces to the other side. So there are 6 points over there that some people, if they trade based on these kind of channel actions, they would have gotten at least 3 to 4 trades already. And since we're here, let's adjust the box so it matches the bottom of these candles better. So there's still chance. Now it's rebounding from that point, and this line we can switch it to measure the supports. So currently the price is moving along or above this yellow line, and it can still stay all the way till Thursday, maybe not even Thursday, Wednesday, the coming Wednesday. So by that, when that happens, again it has to break either this downward trend, so you see this blue box, smaller blue box, right, or it's going to do the ping pong thing again, coming back to challenge the purple key level first, and if it doesn't hold, then it will challenge the bottom edge of this downward channel box. So it's interesting that the daily chart is telling us something different. So these tests, I can remove this now. This is, I don't want to move the pink line. I want to move this tag. This LPSY is pretty much confirmed. I just want to quickly check one thing, because if this is the yellow, that was the buying climax, automatic reaction of first. I was thinking whether this is actually the upthrust, or this should just be like what I said before, PSY2, and that's something that hasn't happened yet, because that's the actual upthrust and AR2. And then we've got certainly another test. It may be upthrust of the distribution, just a question mark, because it's so close. I would say it's a second test after the upthrust instead of an upthrust of the distribution, because I would expect this to be way higher than almost at the similar level. So we talked about coming up for another test, and indeed it seems it has happened, but this has definitely happened for this relative peak over there. So we've got the AR2, and we've got the sign of weakness that's lower than the AR2. And if, let's say that test or LPSY is there already, we don't have to have the percentage because it has already happened. For simplicity's sake, let's just put LPSY. If it comes down again, it will get to an even lower level. Well, obviously we can still say there may be another LPSY and a lower point sign of weakness coming. When the price follows, like I said, if it ping pongs again and finds support somewhere around this bottom edge of the blue box and this blue key level of 3,540, that's a chance to bounce from these dual support and once again challenge this pink resistance line or the ceiling of this downward channel box. So these two lines are pretty close, and when that happens, if it continues to trade sideways above this purple key level, then we'll eventually hit the end of November time point where the bigger breakout has to happen. Okay, let's remove these, and I'll just keep one line over here just to see whether it's going to bounce from the ceiling back to at least the midpoint where we have this purple line. So there are multiple lines over here. I think we can take away this for the time being because the price hasn't broken outside of this downward channel. What I'm trying to do with this is make it the center line of the blue box, because we want to see where an potential intermediate support would be. So just to find the most frequent trading, or like open or close along this level, that's where the center line should be. So we have it right here. If it really comes down, interestingly, if it takes long enough, let's remove this line. If it takes long enough, say till mid-October, about 10 days from now, it's going to hit this double resistance, the purple key level as well as this midline. So there is a chance that it doesn't go test the bottom of the box, but instead rebound from that level. since it is so close, I'll leave the lines that way. So next week when we come back, we'll see in the daily chart whether that's exactly what has happened. The volume themselves, again, quite a bit of a fight between the bulls and the bears yesterday. The volume was a little bit higher than the previous 2 days where we had the climb. So this selling is sort of an indication that it may do the same work like it did back in mid-September. Okay, so I think that's pretty much covered all about Ethereum for now. Thanks for joining me. See you in the next session.